This was an enjoyable show, but there was quite a few things that I didn't really like about it. Like, they'll have a character get, knocked the fuck out, and then that character will be up and fighting, literally seconds later. Not even joking. This character will get, punched in the face 20 times, and a few seconds later, they're up, even though it just showed them with their eyes closed and passed out, and it's not like a fake out. It's them legitimately being knocked out, but then getting up just a few seconds later to fight Batman. There's an episode with Professor Pig where he gets knocked out. 5 seconds later, he's ready for this creepy wedding. It's just so weird. And there was another episode where Katana got thrown at a wall. And you can see her, she's knocked out. A few seconds later, she's up and fighting again. Though I did like that this show had underrated characters. But most underrated characters they got wrong. All the designs in the show were awesome. But the actual characters weren't the best. Humpty Dumpty, I've only seen him in one comic. It was that one Arkham Breakout comic where I got introduced to White Shark, and it had Two-Face with broken hands in it. I don't remember the name. But Humpty Dumpty in that seems like an innocent guy that when he tried to fix people, he didn't know that it was actually hurting them until he already did it. And he was trying his best. So he was kind of a messed up, sad origin villain. They do actually reference in this show one of the things he does in that comic. In that comic, his grandma abuses him, and he tries to fix her. And then, she gets killed, and that's the whole reason he ends up in jail. And they actually hint at that and talk about it in this show. So I thought that was cool. But Humpty Dumpty didn't really feel like the character I knew. Two-Face was pretty good, even though we never actually saw him as Two-Face. But, he was still pretty good. As good as Harvey Dent, too. Though, they had the perfect opportunity. 26 episodes, and we barely got a relationship between Bruce and Harvey. The most we got was him giving him money and backing him as mayor, which there was an episode, 10 episodes before that, where Mayor Grange said that she had to give Harvey Dent the commissioner thing because, it would be way better than him as mayor. And Batman agrees with her. So, I don't know why he would later let Harvey be the mayor and back him. Anarchy was really good. It actually introduced me to two characters I didn't know, but I knew everybody else in this show. Cypher and Lunkhead. I didn't know them before this show. Magpie was not really Magpie. Though we've never gotten a really good version of her. She was decent in Batwoman. She wasn't too bad in Gotham, but she was only there for literally one episode. But yeah, I think that's the only ones I can think of that she's been in besides this show. Anyways, we also got Professor Pig, who they decided just because his name is Pig, he's gonna be obsessed with animals in this show. He goes out of his way to, commit animal-related crimes, and he's kind of like a vegan, where they think that anything is animal cruelty. Well, some vegans. Not a lot of them. Just know people like Vegan Teacher from TikTok. He's just so ridiculous in this show. He hunts down people in this show just because they did something bad to animals. He feels like Poison Ivy and her plants in this show. Though I do like him in this show, he's just nothing like Professor Pig. He's a cool character, but he's nothing like him. I get they can't just make him exactly like him because he's a really dark character. But they have Killer Croc say some pretty dark lines on that show. There's one where they're about to get ran over by a train, and he tells them about melted gum, and that's what they're going to look like when they get peeled off the tracks. And then there's one guy that we get introduced into the breakout scene that eats hearts. And he actually reminds me of a character, because there's a character actually like that, but they don't have the same name in this show. Then, Killer Croc was pretty good. Trying to think, I don't think there's any more villains. There's Tobias as Whale's henchman that has powers, but he doesn't really do anything in the show. He shows up 2 times and then is gone. I think that's all the villains. No, there's Rachel Gould, he was on this show, and Lady Shiva, but they didn't do much either. They had a few plot points for a few episodes, but they weren't that important in the long run. Even though they did have a bit of an impact, they just really weren't important. Anarchy was through like the entire season, and Deathstroke was near the end, and they tried to set it up as if he was there all along. So I don't really see how Raish and Lady Shiva were that important in this show. I think that's about it. I think it would have been cool if they did someone like Victor Zsasz, but it was a kid show, so they probably wouldn't. They could have went the Gotham route, though. Because, Gotham had Victor Zsasz. It's a very violent show, but in Gotham, we only see his scars once and then we never see him again. He kills somebody and then he adds a mark. So I think they could have just did something like that. Kill a person off screen. Don't show him adding a mark, but show him with like a new mark or something. Because they were plenty fine with making Deathstroke miss an eyeball. Speaking of which, they were obsessed with like having people get their like iconic look by explosions. Two-Face got his look on this show by an explosion. Deathstroke lost his eye by an explosion. And that was within 2 episodes. But, it was an enjoyable show. It was cool to see villains that you didn't expect to see. Because I didn't expect to see Humpty Dumpty. That was for sure. And I definitely wasn't expecting Tobias Whale. Because usually when someone picks a crime boss, it's usually Penguin or Black Mask. Or Falcone or Maroni. Nobody would usually go for Tobias Whale because he isn't used that much. So it was cool to see him. But that's about it for this show and review.